just next month, the Ram Mandir is going to get inaugurated in Ayodhya here. It's going to be another dimension of existence in this world. And we are very, very fortunate to be existing in this period of life. So, Brahmaji, he tells Narmuni, he tells Valmiki, that you should write the Ramayana in the same meter in which you narrated the curse. So the entire Ramayana is written in the same meter as the curse. The curse was a mistake, right? By mistake he cursed. But that mistake has now become a norm, literally. So Brahmaji tells Valmiki that I want you to write the entire Ramayana in the same meter. So the Ramayana has 24,000 verses, all written in the same meter. And the meter is called as Anushtup Chanda. That's the meter in which the entire Ramayana is written. The entire Ramayana written in one single meter. Even in the Bhagavad Gita there are 4 or 5 meters. But in the Ramayana there's only 1 meter. And it's not easy to write 24,000 verses in 1 meter. It's not a joke at all. It is really profound to be able to write this. And therefore, Valmiki, he writes the entire Ramayana, which is 24,000 verses. It is made up of 640 chapters and it has 6 sargas or 6 kands or chapters, or rather books, you can say. And this is what Valmiki Ramayana is. So what we are going to be doing over the next 6 years is that we are going to be narrating the entire Valmiki Ramayana to all of you in as much detail, with as much love, and with as much of understanding as possible. I'll try to share with you all. And all of you also, please remember that this, what you're hearing, is just an inspiration for you to go back and actually dive deep into the Ramayana. What I'm going to hear here is just an inspiration for you to go and actually study the Ramayana in great details. So my recommendation to all of you all is that every year as we hear this particular narration of the Ramayana, go back and read that particular section of the Ramayana yourself. You can pick up my books, you can pick up Valmiki Ramayana, whatever you feel inspired by, read it yourself. So that you will see that what I am narrating is what is there in the book itself. It will also give you a reaffirmation of actually reading the Ramayana yourself and being absorbed in Ramakatha as much as possible. Valmiki writes the entire Ramayana. Ramayana was written by Valmiki when Ram was roughly about 39 years of age. Roughly. This is the period in which Valmiki writes the Ramayana. And after Valmiki writes the Ramayana, he is looking for someone who can share the Ramayana with the world. Because these were those days where there were no printing presses. If somebody had to copy a book, you have to actually copy the entire book, word to word, yourself, with your own hands, which is almost impossible, right? And in those days, there were only palm leaves. How can you even make copies like that? So people in those days had a different format of transmitting data. It is called as verbatim. They would go and narrate a poetry as it is. So Valmiki Muni spent the next few years training 2 of his disciples. And who were the 2 disciples? The sons of Ram, Luv and Kush, who were living in the ashram of Valmiki with Mother Sita at that point in time. He spent the next few years training Luv and Kush in reciting Ramayana. People in those days were called Shrutidhar. Shrutidhar means once you hear, you never forget. We are all Shrutidhar. The moment we hear, we forget. The most amazing thing is sometimes I give the same lecture and people say, what a lecture you gave. And I repeated exactly the same thing. He said, Acha, we felt we heard for the first time. I said, thank God, Kaliuga memory is existing. You don't have to keep preparing every day new lectures, People just completely forget. But imagine the capacity of Luv and Kush. They remembered all 24,000 verses of Ramayana by heart. And when Valmiki taught Luv and Kush, he not only taught them the verses of Valmiki Ramayana, but he also taught them the mood in which every verse has to be narrated. And therefore, when Luv and Kush would narrate the Valmiki Ramayana, it would create a stir in emotions. People would cry, people would laugh, people would have experiences that they have never experienced in their life in the narration of Luv and Kush. That's what the power of emotions is. So the speaker knows what direction to stir the emotions, it will create such kind of profound impact. And therefore, when you study the Ramayana, when you read the Ramayana, and when you hear the Ramayana, it has to create an emotional impact in your heart. That is when the Ramayana, Ram Katha is being narrated in the right mood, in the right consciousness. It has to create a churning of emotions in your heart. And that is why, that is the way in which every Ram Kathakar has to narrate the Ramayana. And hopefully in the next 6 days, you will have a lot of stirring of emotions happening. There will be a lot happening, especially because they're in Ayodhya Kanda, the Ramayana. Ayodhya Kanda is the most intense Kanda of the entire Ramayana. The most intense section. So today I'm just going to be narrating some parts of the Balakanda of the Ramayana. But tomorrow onwards, we're actually going to go to the Ayodhya Kanda. And the entire Ayodhya Kanda is just a churning of the heart, literally, So as Luv and Kush were narrating, they were creating such stir in people's hearts. And they were going around from village to village, narrating Ramayana. As I said, there was no social media at that point in time. It's not that you make one YouTube video and everybody hears it, They had to literally go around from village to village. And Luv and Kush were doing this on a daily basis. Moving around, these two young boys, and they would stand on the village chalks and narrate. And hundreds and thousands of people would gather together. This is actually a very powerful way of transmitting knowledge, which is the way India lived by, Unfortunately, we have lost it. But it is time to revive it. So in the olden times, every evening people would spend hearing Katha, Ram Katha, Krishna Katha, and they would absorb themselves together. And you know what these Kathas will do? These Kathas not only give you knowledge, but it stirs emotions, and not only stirs emotions, it brings people together. The most amazing thing is, when two people are hearing the same Katha, they feel closer. They feel more connected. They feel more bonded. Very mystically, So the gopis in Vrindavan, they would be discussing about Krishna. They would tell each other about Krishna stories. And the more they're narrating stories of Krishna to each other, the more they start loving each other. That's why Krishna in the Gita speaks about Machittam Adagata Prana Bodhyatya Parasparam Katyanta Shamam Nityam Tushyanti Charamantisha. It increases bonding. And therefore, don't look at these kathas as just means of getting knowledge. They're actually powerful social enterprise. They are very powerful social ways of uniting people. So when Luv and Kush would narrate, thousands of people would throng and they would hear Luv and Kush every evening, different places. And everyone who heard Luv and Kush narrate the Ramayana, they would give them profound blessings. Because the voice of Luv and Kush and the mood in which Luv and Kush was speaking was so heart-touching. And people would just go running to them and give them all kinds of blessings. They would give them all kinds of gifts. Somebody would give them water pot, somebody would give them deer skin, somebody would give them a kamandalu. So many gifts they were getting. And those who couldn't give gifts, they were giving them blessings. One particular sage gave a very profound blessing to Luv and Kush. The sage told Luv and Kush, I bless you. The person about whom you are singing will hear you singing. What a blessing, isn't it? So he actually gave the blessing. I mean, obviously now Luv and Kush had no idea about what that blessing would mean. But the sage, he blessed them that Lord Ram will hear you very soon. And the very next day, Bharat was passing by and he heard one of these Ram Kathas. And Bharat was so amazed when he heard the depth in which this Ram Katha was going on. Because Bharat himself was not part of the whole Ram Katha, right? He himself was stuck in Ayodhya. So he hadn't heard the whole Ramayana properly, So when these two boys were narrating Ramayana, things that he didn't even know. I mean, everyone shared something, but nobody shares everything, right? So Bharat, he only knew Ramayana in bits and pieces. Ram did this and Ram did that, but he wanted to know everything properly. So he invited the two of them to Ayodhya. He said, come to Ayodhya, and in the court of Ayodhya, narrate, let everybody hear, formally, And this was the first formal organization of Ram Katha in the court of Ayodhya. And when Luv and Kush were in the court of Ayodhya narrating Ram Katha, Lord Ram was personally present there. And that particular narration was so powerful, that every single person in the courtroom of Ayodhya that day, they were completely immersed in the narration of these two boys. For the first time in the history of Ayodhya, nobody looked at Ram. Usually, when Ram is sitting on the throne of Ayodhya, nobody looks anywhere else. It is helplessly everyone is looking at Ram only. They just can't take their eyes off Ram. But for the first time in the history of Ayodhya, people didn't even look at Ram once. They were looking at these two boys only. And Lord Ram, he was sitting on a throne, which is 18 steps up. So the throne of Lord Ram is 18 steps higher from the ground level. And Ram is sitting on the throne. And Ram was feeling very happy hearing the narration of Ramayana. But he was also feeling very lonely. Because nobody else is there with him. Sita was not there, obviously, So he was feeling a little sad that I don't have anyone to share, the joy with. So when you're hearing any kind of katha, any kind of Ram katha, Krishna katha, it is good to have someone next to you whom you know. You can look at each other, smile, share some. Usually husband and wife, they sit next to each other. And if I tell any kind of thing about husband and wife, they immediately start pointing out each other. So there's a lot of rasa in that, So when there is a joyous moment, you look at each other. So there's a lot of rasa in hearing katha with someone you know. Ram was feeling so alone that day. He was thinking, I'm alone over here and I can't share my rasa with anybody else. So he said, I should go down. But Ram didn't want to disturb anybody because they were so absorbed in hearing Ram Katha. So Ram very, very stealthily, very carefully, he held all his jewels, he held his crown, he held his dhoti nicely, and he walked down the 18 steps without making a single noise. And nobody even noticed him walking down. And he walked down and sat among the audience, sat with them. And people didn't even know Ram was sitting next to them. Somebody was hitting on Ram's back, There was a joke going on, somebody was slapping his thigh, somebody was clapping hands with him, People were so absorbed in Ram Katha, they didn't even know that they were interacting with Ram over there, And Ram was so happy being a part of the audience and enjoying the Ram Katha with the audience. And the Acharyas say that Ramayana, Ram Katha, is more attractive than Ram himself. The only thing that is more attractive than Ram himself is Ram Katha. So if there's anything in this world that can be more attractive than Ram, that's about Ram. That's why it says Rama Rameti. So it's now Rama Rameti means Ram is Ram, Rameti is about Ram. And that connection of hearing Ram Katha is so powerful. If anybody wants to experience Ram, the only way you can experience Ram is by hearing about Ram. And therefore, in this whole Yatra, we have kept sufficient time to hear about Ram. And I'm telling you, when you roam around in the streets of Ayodhya, Chitrakoot and Prayag, I'm not sure how much you will experience Ram. But when you're sitting in these classes and hearing about Ram, that's when you'll actually experience Ram. And therefore, in Ayodhya Dham, hearing about Ram is equivalent to sitting in that court of Lord Ram and hearing Ram Katha in the association of Luv and Kush. And therefore, we have kept extreme amount of emphasis on these kathas. We've given sufficient amount of time, no shortage of time for these kathas. I request all of you all, if you want to have the most profound experiences in these yatras, please prioritize the katha timings. We'll start on time, we'll end on time, and we'll make sure that the kathas are condensed with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of experiences, and with a lot of profound Ram Katha. So Luv and Kush, as they were narrating the Ramayana, they were creating such a stir among everyone over there. Everyone forgot Ram. And after a long period of time, when finally the Katha got over, and they looked around, they started looking for the Ram on the throne, and the throne is empty. And they were amazed, they were saying, where is Ram? And then they found Ram sitting among them. And they were feeling so embarrassed that I don't know which of them hit him, which of them clapped hands with him. They were feeling really embarrassed. But Ram just enjoyed that experience of Ram Katha. It is explained that wherever Ram Katha happens, Hanumanji is personally present over there. And there was somewhere in some corner over here, Hanumanji will surely be present. I just came from Kashi. Today morning I arrived from Kashi. Last 2 days I've been on a very intense 2-day yatra in Kashi. I'm like, literally, your yatra is starting, my yatra is half done and I'm super exhausted after 2 days of very intense yatra. But in Kashi, we went to a particular place. I thought I should share that with you all because this is in continuation with what we're going to hear in Chitrakoot in some time. In Kashi, there's a place which is known as Tulsi Ghat. Tulsi Ghat is a place where Tulsidas ji sat and wrote the entire Ramayana, Ramcharitamanas. See, Tulsidas' Ramcharitamanas is an extension of Valmiki Ramayana only, in a colloquial language, in a language that works for a common man. So Tulsidas ji had such profound experiences while writing the Ramayana. He sat there in that ghat and wrote the entire Valmiki Ramayana, Tulsidas' Ramcharitamanas there. And every day, Tulsidas ji, after he would eat his meal, he would wash his hands in one particular under a particular tree. Every day he would wash his hands. This is basically his remnants. And many days later, one ghost who was residing on that tree, he appeared in front of Tulsidas ji. And this ghost tells Tulsidas ji that because you have been washing your hands here, I got to experience a state of liberation. And he said, I've been struggling in this ghostly body for such a long period of time, and by your mercy now I'm liberated. And the ghost tells Tulsidas ji, please ask for anything, I'll give you. Whatever is at my capacity. Tulsidas ji says, the only thing I want is to have darshan of Lord Ram. The ghost says, sorry, that is beyond me. If I could give you that, I would have myself had darshan of Ram, right? Tulsidas ji, I don't want anything else. This is the only thing I want. So this ghost was feeling so grateful, at the same time he was feeling so sad he's not able to fulfill his desire. The ghost told him, see, I may not be able to give you darshan of Ram, but I'll tell you a secret. And this secret will help you get darshan of Ram for sure. Tulsidas ji was very eager to know what the secret is. This ghost said, every day when you do Ram Katha, in one corner, there is one leper that comes. He comes exactly when the Katha starts and he leaves exactly when the Katha ends. You should know that the leper who comes is completely covered with a blanket. He is not different from Hanuman. Every day Hanuman comes and hears your Ram Katha. Tulsidas ji was amazed. He didn't know that every day Hanuman is coming to hear his Ram Katha. Tulsidas ji, so this ghost told him, Today when he comes, make sure you catch him before he leaves. And don't leave him till he promises you to show you, give you darshan of Ram. Tulsidas ji, imagine his, anxiety in that katha basically. He knew Hanuman is sitting. What a high pressure it is. Hanuman is part of the Ram katha. He's been there. And if you are narrating Ramayana in front of Hanuman, you have to be really good, isn't it? Sometimes when we have to give a lecture and Hanuman Swami Maharaj is there, oh my God, what a high pressure situation it is. So Tulsidas ji, he comes and he's doing the katha, but his entire attention is on finding that beggar, who's going to come. And the moment he comes, Tulsidas ji spots him. And the entire katha is focused on that person, And he sees Hanuman is sitting there, rapt attention, hearing every word of Ram katha. For Hanuman, it doesn't matter who's speaking Ram katha. It doesn't matter whether the person is expert or not expert, is good or bad. This person is speaking Ram katha, that's all. See, this is what we need to learn from Hanumanji. See, the problem with us is that we look for externals. We will hear the speaker, if that person speaks something that is interesting to us. But we will not hear if the person doesn't speak something interesting, isn't it? But for Hanuman, that doesn't matter. The subject is more important than the speaker. If the subject is Ram Katha, Hanuman will leave everything there. In fact, Hanuman has asked a boon from Lord Ram. As long as there is Ram Katha and Ram Naam happening in this world, I want to live here only. What an amazing thing, isn't it? Hanuman can go back to the spiritual world anytime he wants. But Hanuman is specifically living in this world so that he can continue hearing Ram Katha and experience Ram Naam. So Tulsidas ji, on that particular day, as soon as he finishes his katha, he runs and he jumps and catches hold of Hanuman's feet. Hanuman is just walking away, and before he walks away, Tulsidas ji runs and catches hold of Hanuman's feet. And Hanuman says, leave me, I am a leper, you can't touch me. Tulsidas ji says, I know who you are. I am not going to leave you till you give me a boon. Hanuman ji says, ask, what do you want? Tulsidas ji says, I want to have darshan of Ram. Hanuman ji says, that is very difficult, but I can try. Hanuman ji tells him, I will try to help you 2 times. Within these 2 times, if you somehow have darshan of Ram, then you have it. But if you miss it, then I can't help you anymore. Tulsidas ji says, fine, let's try. So then Hanuman ji tells him, you come to Chitrakoot and there I will help you see Ram. Tulsidas ji leaves Kashi and moves to Chitrakoot. And in Chitrakoot, there is a particular spot where the rest of the katha will happen. And what happens, I'll tell you all there. Leave you all in suspense. And the most amazing thing is, the place where this happened, the rest of the story, you're going to visit that place. And you will actually experience that story most profoundly in that place only. So I'm not going to tell you all the rest of the story now. Wait, which is good. So, when Luv and Kush are narrating about Ayodhya, about the whole Ramayana, it is explained, the rest of the story of Ramayana that we are going to be seeing going forward is a narration of Luv and Kush narrating Ramayana. So, technically, so far, I have just given you all like a prelude to the Ramayana. So far, it's been like a introduction. And now the actual Ramayana is going to start. So we already have been speaking for literally about 1.5 hours now. That's just been the introduction. So how many of you all have more energy to hear a little more? Okay. So now I'm going to give you all a little bit of what Luv and Kush speaks. And this is a description of the city of Ayodhya. We are all right now sitting in the city of Ayodhya. Let us see the city of Ayodhya from the eyes of Luv and Kush, from the eyes of Valmiki. So now, we didn't even allow you all to go and explore the city of Ayodhya. You know why? There's a reason. Because if you go and explore the city of Ayodhya without hearing what I'm going to tell you all, you will only see filth, you will only see garbage, you you will only see all the things that you're not supposed to see. So therefore, we want to help you, we want to provide you with the divine eyes first. So that when you go actually with the divine eyes, with prepared in the right mood, you will be able to see Ayodhya for what it is. Right? So therefore, let us now try to understand Ayodhya from Valmiki's point of view. There's a blanket. Just like Vrindavan Dham, in any of the holy places, there is a covering. It is known as Avarna. It's called a covering. It's a veil or a blanket. Any holy dham is always blanketed by the Lord, by the Maya Shakti of the Lord. Why? Because the holy places don't want to be revealed to anybody. The holy places prefer to be revealed only to those people who are qualified enough. And therefore, most people when they go to holy places, they will only see the blanket. Only and if only we are prepared and our eyes have the right kind of information and the right kind of knowledge, we will be exposed to the covering, to the layer below the blanket. So what we are all helping you with is experiencing Ayodhya below the blanket. The Ayodhya that is above the blanket is something the world sees, right? It's a part of Uttar Pradesh. And for all of you who know what Uttar Pradesh means, you understand what I'm talking about here. It's intense, right? But for those who actually want to experience Ayodhya for what it is, these kathas will help you unveil it. So let us see what Luv and Kush have to narrate and what Valmiki has to say. The description of the city of Ayodhya, it says, the Koshala kingdom, the capital of the kingdom is Ayodhya. And Ayodhya was 120 miles long and 30 miles wide. The word Ayodhya comes from the word Yuddha. The word Yuddha means fight. And Ayodhya means a place that is unconquerable. And it is unconquerable both by external and internal enemies. Externally, Ayodhya couldn't be conquered because it has so many systems of protection. But even internally, you can't conquer Ayodhya. It is explained around Ayodhya there was a moat. So we saw that the entire Ayodhya is 120 miles long and 30 miles wide, right? The entire city of Ayodhya was surrounded by a moat. Also, it was a stream of water which was very, very deep. And in that deep stream of water were so many dangerous reptiles and animals, sea animals, rather, water animals. And it is explained that the walls of Ayodhya, so there was a moat that was running around Ayodhya, and it was a very deep moat. And just after the moat, there was a huge wall. And the walls of Ayodhya were so tall. There's a very interesting description in the Ramayana. It says that when the clouds would pass over the moat, they would mistake the moat to be an ocean and absorb water and form these rain clouds. And the rain clouds, when they would pass over the wall of Ayodhya, the wall of Ayodhya would be so tall that these rain clouds would hit the wall of Ayodhya and pour all the rain back into the moats. Very interesting description, right? Don't try to imagine everything, you can't imagine everything. this is called poetic license, This is Amber's style of describing it. And it explained that the walls of Ayodhya were filled with weapons, all kinds of weapons. And this was automated. And it explained that if any enemy tries to enter the city of Ayodhya without sanction, whether the enemy is of the size of a mosquito or the size of a Garuda, these weapons would shoot. And the most amazing thing is, these walls were equipped with not just detecting enemies who were coming to attack, but they could also detect those who had evil minds. We all heard of metal detectors. Ayodhya had mental detectors. We didn't detect your mind. So tomorrow when you go into the darshan of Lord Ram, you will go through so many metal detectors. Imagine if there was only one mental detector. How many people would actually manage to have darshan of Ram? Everyone could be thrown out, isn't it? Because our minds are like really so contaminated. So they explain that Ayodhya was like a board game. The shape of Ayodhya was like a chessboard. So if you've seen, now I'm not talking about chessboards of today, I'm talking about the chessboards of the past, where they're like like a Ludo, You see the Ludo boards, right? Long one and there's a short one. That's the kind of shape that Ayodhya city had, basically. And the opulence of Ayodhya was so much that all the palaces of Ayodhya were whiter than the moon. The palaces were made of marble, white marble, which was more white than the moon itself. And the entire Ayodhya, the king, Dasharath Maharaj, he sponsored music. Music sponsored by the state. Across Ayodhya, the length and breadth of Ayodhya, there would be musicians standing on street corners and singing, playing musical instruments. Imagine what an atmosphere, isn't it? I mean, when you go out now, you'll only see honking of cars and honking of bikes and all kinds of chaos, right? Why did Dasharath do that? Why was such kind of atmosphere created in Ayodhya? Because in such an atmosphere, creativity is good. When there is music going on, when there is such an atmosphere created, then people are very creative. People can bring out the best in themselves. So the state would sponsor this music so that it inspires all the citizens to be in the right consciousness and the right mode. And it is explained that the city of Ayodhya was such a place where there was no shops that sold locks, and there were no charitable people in the city of Ayodhya. Why no shops sold locks? Because nobody locked anything. Even the treasury of the king was not locked. You could walk in and take anything you want. Nobody would ask you any questions. Because everybody had so much. They didn't need to go and steal somebody else. And more than that, people are satisfied in the heart. Today, no matter how much you have, people are not satisfied in the heart. And because people are not satisfied in the heart, they want to take from others. Right? And Ayodhya created an environment of satisfaction. And because it created an environment of satisfaction, every human being in Ayodhya lived so satisfied, they didn't look at other people's property. And why there were no charitable people in Ayodhya? Whom to give charity to? No beggars only. If there are no beggars, there is nobody you can give charity to, isn't it? And finally, it is said Dasharath was such an amazing king that he overcame the ocean of beggars by giving charity. That means he gave so much wealth, so much charity, that there were no beggars at all in the whole city of Ayodhya. He crossed the ocean of knowledge by studying the scriptures very deeply. He crossed the ocean of enemies using his sword. And he crossed the ocean of vices, anarthas, by absorbing himself in spiritual practices. That was the kind of person that Dasharath Maharaj was. Ramayana is a book of leadership. If you want to know the art of leading, you should study Ramayana. Because it teaches you the art of leading. If you want to know the art of living, you should study Mahabharata. It teaches you the art of living. If you want to know the art of dying, you study Srimad Bhagavatam. It teaches you how to die nicely. 3 books. It covers the 3 most important parts of life. How to lead, how to live, how to die. If you know these 3 books, you know everything about life, literally. Unfortunately, people don't know these 3 things only, isn't it? We don't know how to live, we don't know how to lead, and we don't know how to die. Each of these books, they're centered around life, one of these things. Like say for example Mahabharata. If you study the Mahabharata, it is filled with people who had the most difficult times in life. The most difficult times in life. And yet they lived. And not just lived, they lived happily. And not just they lived happily and they contributed powerfully. So Mahabharata, if you study, you will know how to navigate the difficulties in your life. How to navigate through difficult times in your life. Like for example, at one point in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was so broken. He went to Dhaumya, his guru, and he told him, I can't live anymore. This is too much. How much difficulty can a human being bear? How much trouble can one man tolerate? He said, how much insult can one human being bear like this? He said, I don't want to live anymore. And Yudhishthira Maharaj made a very profound statement that all of us make almost on a daily basis. You know what he said? He said, I don't think there's anybody in this world who is suffering more than me. Sounds familiar? There are many people who come and tell me this. Why so much suffering is in my life? And then Dhaumya, he tells Yudhishthira a story of Nala Damayanti. When Yudhishthira hears the story of Nala Damayanti, Dhaumya tells him, see, you are saying your life is the most difficult life. Nobody has suffered more than you. You hear the story of Nala Damayanti. Then after that you tell me whether you are suffering or not. Yudhishthira heard the whole story of Nala Damayanti. After hearing the whole story of Nala Damayanti, Yudhishthira says, actually I am not suffering at all. I am fine. Everything is good in my life. I don't have any problems in my life. Imagine. That's Mahabharata. It teaches you the art of living. So if you want to know how to live your life, read Mahabharata. And if you want to know how to lead, read Ramayana. Ramayana teaches you the art of leadership. Because leadership is about sacrifices. Wherever and whenever there is a leader who is powerful, that leader makes sacrifices and tremendous amount of sacrifices. So leadership means responsibility. Responsibility means sacrifice. And sacrifice means tears. Therefore, you'll find in the Ramayana, everybody is crying. Dasharatha Maharaj is crying, Ram is crying, Lakshmana is crying, Kaushalya is crying, Kaikeyi is crying, Bharat is crying. Everyone in the royalty is crying. And whenever people in the royalty are crying, people are all happy. And whenever people are all crying, people in the top position are happy. That's what today is happening, isn't it? The guy on top all happy, everybody else is crying. Ramayana is a book of leadership. It teaches you the meaning of sacrifice. It teaches you the meaning of responsibility. The Ramayana teaches you what it means to be a leader. And the Srimad Bhagavatam teaches you two things specifically. How to love and how to die. If you study the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you develop great love for Krishna. And it also teaches you what is the consciousness with which you should die. The Bhagavatam starts with the story of Parikshit Maharaj getting a curse to die in 7 days and 7 nights. And it teaches you what is the preparation that is needed if you have a short duration of time to live. And in today's time and age, you never know how much time we have, isn't it? Can anyone sitting here say that I'm going to live for next 20, 30 years? Impossible. Tomorrow morning what's going to happen, we don't know, isn't it? It's not easy. It's not easy to handle death. Especially if it is death of somebody near and dear to you. And especially if it is your own impending death. Not at all easy. Isn't it? And therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam teaches you how to die in the most graceful way and how to prepare your consciousness for the most profound reality of life, which is death. You study these 3 books, you don't have to study anything else in this world. And therefore, my next 20-30 year aim at least, The last 10 years I've been using to help people understand Ramayana. The next 10 years I'm going to focus on Mahabharata. And 10 years after that I'm going to focus on Bhagavatam. So that's the sequential plan for the next 20 years. Of course, Krishna willing. I don't know whether I'll exist tomorrow also. But at least if I get a chance to live, I want to do this for society. So, Dasharatha Maharaj lived in Ayodhya and he created an atmosphere in Ayodhya that was profound. He created an atmosphere in Ayodhya where people could live very happily. Ayodhya has a very interesting system of irrigation. This is in those times, which is known as Nadi Matraka. So there are two types of irrigation systems, Deva Matraka and Nadi Matraka. Deva Matraka means depends on rain. Today, most modern cities in the world are Deva Matraka. If it rains, you have water. If it doesn't rain, you are dead. Places like Mumbai, 1 year it doesn't rain, gone. Everybody will have to vacate the city literally because there is no option only. There is no other way to survive because we are all dependent on rain. There is no system of storage. But Dasharatha created a system known as Nadi Matraka, which means it depends on storage of water, which is done very systematically. So Dasharatha created a system of storage which could last for 11 years. So 11 years if it didn't rain in Ayodhya, nobody in Ayodhya would even know that it didn't rain. That was the kind of system that Dasharatha created. And Dasharatha not only created the system, he knew ways how to maintain the system. Make sure the system actually worked. And there are many leaders who create systems. But when the system fails, they run away because they don't know, they don't have any way to handle it, isn't it? Dasharatha not only created a system, but he made sure the system ran. And Dasharatha, there was a particular point where it didn't rain for 11 years. On the 11th year, Dasharatha came to know that rains have failed for such a long period of time. And nobody in Ayodhya also knew that it's not raining. Nobody in Ayodhya even realized it because there's such amount of water. And finally, on the 11th year, Dasharatha decided to do something about it. And he found out that the planetary systems are such a way that Shani is staring at Ayodhya. And Dasharatha decided to go and attack Shani. Deal with Shani directly. There are many people whose life Shani is staring at this point in time. You know? I'm sure many of you all are experiencing Sadesati period. You know? And when Shani stares at you, nothing you can do, isn't it? Ravan had a very interesting way of dealing with it. Ravan captured Shani only. And he hung him upside down and made him face a wall. So that Shani never looks at him. You know? Not everybody is Ravan, obviously, isn't it? So Dasharatha Maharaj, when he came to know that Shani is staring at him, staring at Ayodhya, he took his chariot and went to Shani Loka. Dasharatha's chariot had the ability to move in 10 directions. So Dasharatha moved towards Shani, and when Shani saw Dasharatha coming with his chariot towards him, he stared at the chariot of Dasharatha, and the whole chariot started toppling over. And Dasharatha was having a free fall. At that time, a huge vulture, whose name was Jatayu, came, spread its wings, and caught hold of Dasharatha and his chariot. Imagine how big Jatayu was. He held the entire chariot of Dasharatha on his body, and Dasharatha himself. So Dasharatha was so grateful to Jatayu, he promised him, he told him, ask me anything, you saved my life, I'll give you everything you want. See, Dasharatha has one problem. He makes such promises randomly. And every time he makes such a promise, he lands in trouble badly. You know? Here he made this promise. He told Jatayu, whatever you want, you ask. Overconfidence is very dangerous. Yeah? I mean, you can be grateful, but that doesn't mean you become overconfident like this. Jatayu asked him something amazing. You know what Jatayu asked him? Jatayu told him, please give me the boon that your son will become my son. That's all. That's the boon he asked. At that time, Dasharatha didn't have any son. He said, okay. When you don't have something, what is the problem in giving? Nah? If you don't have something in your hand, you can easily give it. You have no problem in giving it. So Dasharatha told him, yes, fine, no problem. My son is your son. So Jatayu, of course, Dasharatha and Jatayu went again back to the Shani, and Shani realized this person is too determined. He decided to turn away from Ayodhya. And and the rains came back. But that particular story is actually a turning point in Dasharath's life. Because eventually, when you see at the time of Dasharath's death, Dasharath didn't have a son. And Jatayu, at the time of his death, he had Ram. And not only that, at the time of death of Dasharath Maharaj, Ram was not there to do the last rites. And for Jatayu, Ram did the last rites like a son. And therefore, the boon that Jatayu actually asked for was a very prophetic boon in one sense. Because of that boon, Jatayu had the fortune of having Ram as his own son. This is an animal, not even an animal, bird. And that too, among birds also, a vulture is considered to be the lowest among the species of birds. And to such a bird, Ram became a son. What a great personality, isn't it? And then Ram talks, people talk about how Ram was only favoring Brahmanas and not favoring other castes. What nonsense. Ram made even a vulture his father. There's no question of discrimination in Ram's life. He always gives and he always accepts people into the. And he accepts in the way you want. So if you want to connect with Lord Ram, you can decide how you want to connect with Ram. For somebody, they look at Ram from the point of view of Vatsalya. They look at Ram as a child. For somebody, they look at Ram as from the point of view of Sakhya. For somebody, they can look at Ram from of Madhurya. For somebody, they could look at Ram from the point of view of the sages of Dandakaranya. They looked at Ram from Madhurya Leela. They looked at Ram from the conjugal connection point of view. And Shantaras, you just want to be a lot of people, when they come in front of God, they freeze. They prefer to not have a connection in that way. Yeah, they don't mind being chair. God can sit on me. I won't talk to you. I won't do anything with you. But I will, give him a nice experience. The Shanta. That's a way of connect with the Lord. So the way you want to connect with the Lord, you can connect, and the Lord will reciprocate with you in that way. So Jatayu wanted this kind of connection with the Lord, and Ram actually allowed that to happen. So Dasharath Maharaj, he created a fantastic system in Ayodhya. He created such a profound system that nothing in Ayodhya lacked. The army of Ayodhya was very, very powerful, and this army of Ayodhya was very skilled. And Ayodhya was compared to a cave, a large cave, just filled with countless lions. And the most important thing, the soldiers of Ayodhya were very principled people. They never attacked someone who was not armed. They never attacked someone who was running away. And more than anything else, the soldiers of Ayodhya were ready to make all kinds of sacrifices for the sake of their king. And in the Ramayana, there is a very small section which is often missed out. In this verse in the Valmiki Ramayana, it is said, the soldiers of Ayodhya were experts in sonic archery, but they never practiced it. Sonic archery is known as Shabda Bedi. Shabda Bedi means they could blindfold themselves and shoot at the target exactly, and at even moving targets. So the Shabda Bedi was a very powerful expertise that almost every soldier in Ayodhya had. Of course, Dasharath also had. But one particular incident changed everything. Dasharath Maharaj was once hunting in a forest, and he was engaged in chasing some animals, some wild animals. And then he suddenly heard a tiger drinking water. It sounded like a tiger drinking water. Now for you and me, everything sounds same, isn't it? If tiger drinks water, human being drinks water, or anything drinks water, it all sounds same for us, Because we don't have sensitive ears, we can't really make out differences in sounds, But the people in the past were trained very, very powerfully. They could make out even subtle things. And Dasharath heard very carefully, it was very clear, it's a tiger drinking water, and he shot an arrow. And he suddenly heard a human voice crying in pain. Dasharath ran there, and he saw there was this young boy with an arrow embedded in his chest, really struggling in so much pain and agony. And Dasharatha asked him, "Who are you and how come you are here?" The boy said his name was Shravan. And Shravan Kumar, this young boy, he was the only son of very aged parents who were both blind. And Shravan Kumar was carrying these two people around. And they were waiting for water. This boy came to fetch water in the pot. And that's what Dasharatha heard as he concluded it's a tiger. And Dasharatha tried to explain to him, "I'm sorry, I thought it was a tiger." See, what is the point in saying sorry after you made a mistake, right? After you made a mistake, you say sorry or don't say sorry in the same thing. The pain is not going to go. And here Shravan Kumar is dying. He's asking genuine questions. He's saying, "Who's going to take care of my parents?" And Dasharatha, he didn't have answers. He was only trying to justify. So many times when we are in situations like this, we end up trying to justify for the mistake that we have made. But when we are in the peak of passion, we don't think of the consequences. Dasharatha, when he was in that peak of passion of shooting the arrow, he didn't think that possibly there could be some mistake that I make, isn't it? So usually when we are at the peak of our passion, reasoning goes away from our lives. We are only focused on the act. But after we do the act, and then we realize we made a mistake, suddenly guilt comes in our heart. And to overcome that guilt, we start giving justification. And we start saying, no, I actually didn't want to do this. I didn't mean this. I meant this. After you do something, justification is not really useful, isn't it? So the Shravan Kumar, he said, "I don't know how my parents are going to survive." And he died. Dasharatha Maharaj carries a pot of water, goes to his parents. At the moment Shravan Kumar's parents hear the footsteps of Dasharatha, they understand it's not their son. They ask him, "Who are you?" Dasharatha explains. He tries to explain to them logically. When somebody is emotionally disturbed, logic doesn't help. Logic doesn't help when somebody is emotionally disturbed. Logic helps only when you are stable. For an emotionally disturbed person, people don't need advice, they don't need logic, they need hope. And Dasharatha was not able to give them hope. And finally he had to tell the truth. And the truth hurt them so much that they cursed Dasharatha. They cursed him. Just like we are dying in separation from our son, you will also die in separation from your son. And they both died. They both end their lives. They jump into the fire of their son. And Dasharatha is so disturbed. Now he comes back. The only thing he can do is ban sonic archery. That's the only thing he does. Nobody in Ayodhya can practice sonic archery anymore. That's why, though all of them are experts, they don't practice it. But that doesn't mean that the episode of Dasharatha Maharaj's life is erased. And that particular episode comes back later in his life. So tomorrow when we actually get into Ayodhya Kanda, the Ramayana, we will see how Dasharatha starts having dreams, disturbing incidences. And all these incidents that I spoke to you about will start flashing into his mind. Dasharatha, obviously, he comes back and he overcomes the sorrow and the pain that he had been experienced. And he starts focusing on ruling Ayodhya very nicely. Dasharatha was an amazing leader. He had everything and more. But though Dasharatha had so much, there was something missing in his life. There was something deeply sad that he was experiencing in his life. Dasharatha had more wealth than we can ever imagine. Dasharatha had more systems that ensured perfect country than we can ever imagine. Dasharatha had great health. Dasharatha had the company of best of people. His kingdom was filled with the most intelligent ministers. He had the most amazing wives. But in spite of having so much, Dasharatha felt a certain amount of emptiness in his heart. The scriptures, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavatam, they bring us to reality quickly. They don't beat around the bush too much. Most movies in today's world, they build up the story so much till the point two people get married. And then the movie ends. But that's when the real problems begin, isn't it? Yeah? After that, no movie dares to explain because then it's too much reality, Reality is difficult to digest. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata begins with the reality only. As I said, you are not even entered into the Ramayana. When you are starting with the problem. Dasharatha Maharaj, it builds up, the Ramayana builds up by saying how amazing Ayodhya is. Everything is so perfect and everything is so complete and everything is so wonderful and everything is so beautiful. And then the Ramayana says, but it takes you to a high point and then it brings you to the reality. So that means no matter who you are, no matter how much you have, no matter how happy you are, there will always be a but in your life. And that but is a serious one. And it disturbs you so much that you can't focus on anything else in life. You can't enjoy anything else in life. Dasharatha Maharaj had so much, but he didn't have a child. He was thinking, I have so much, but I don't have a son. I don't have a child. What will I do by living so much? By having so much? And he got totally rejected in life. And by the way, Dasharatha Maharaj at this point of time was quite old. He was already quite old. And yet he didn't have a child. So Dasharatha was very disturbed. He didn't know what is going to be the future of the country. And at this high peak where Dasharatha is so disturbed and he doesn't know what to do, the Ramayana begins actually. The story of the Ramayana actually begins. So what happens in the story of the Ramayana, we will see tomorrow morning. How Dasharatha deals with the but in his life and how Dasharatha deals with the problems in his life and how this one solution that Dasharatha gets from his ministers really brings so much hope, which actually teaches us how important it is to have at least one person in your life that can give you some good advice. We'll stop here at this point in time. I am hoping and praying that all of you are enjoying the narration of the Ramayana and all of you are absorbed yourself and prepared yourself, all of you, to the right extent to absorb the Ramayana for the next 6 days in this Yatra. I want to tell you a couple of things before I end. The first thing is that Yatras are a tremendous opportunity for you to advance in your spiritual lives. And there are many things you can do with these Yatras to actually advance. One obviously is hearing. Second is darshan of holy places. Third is chanting the holy names. All these three things you will get a lot of time to do. All this. But the fourth, very important thing that I really want all of you to spend time doing is serving. Yatras are perfect time to render some service. All of you find some service that you can do for each other. Everyone sitting here is a Vaishnava. Everyone sitting here is a devotee. Everyone sitting here is a spiritual aspirant. Take care of each other. Do something to assist each other, especially those who are older and struggling. You find anyone that is struggling a little bit, please go and help them. Don't think whether you know them or don't know them. We are all in a journey together, right? You find anyone struggling, please go and offer help. The prasadam counters are always going to be there 3 times a day. Anybody who wants to go and serve, go and stand on those counters and please feel free to serve. We're not actually keeping any kind of system of who's going to serve and all that. Just leave it open. Every one of you should at least serve one meal throughout the whole Yatra, right? There will be points in time when you are exhausted, when you are very tired, and at that point of time, if you find some inconveniences happening, please tolerate them. Because though we are all going to be trying our best to manage things in the best possible way, in a Yatra like this, especially when there is shifts happening, when shifting from one place to another, there will be inconveniences a little bit here and there. Just tolerate them and look at them as opportunities for you to get purified and absorbed. And whenever possible and wherever it is possible, try your best to be in the right consciousness, and especially during these testing times. The greatness of a person is judged by how he tolerates provoking situations. There will be a lot of provoking situations coming in the next 6 days, especially in Uttar Pradesh. There will be a little extra provocations also coming. Please look at these provocations as an opportunity to prove your greatness. So please look at these provocations. Don't get disturbed by them. Just tolerate them and deal with them with a smile. Every time you go through a disturbing situation and you smile, you actually evolve a little bit more. So let us all evolve nicely, let us all serve each other nicely, and let us all absorb ourselves nicely. So there are 5 things that we can do in this yatra. These are called the 5 S of spiritual life. Sankirtan, Shravanam, which is hearing lectures, kathas, it's called Swadhyay. The 3rd thing is Seva, which is the opportunity to serve. The 4th thing is known as Sadachar, which is good etiquettes. It's a good opportunity. With 200 people, it's not easy to always follow good etiquettes, but it's a lot of opportunity to follow good etiquettes, because there will be somebody that will bump into you, somebody will step on your feet, somebody's luggage will fall on your head. So many things will happen through the whole journey. 2 times luggage fell on my head already. So I'm giving you examples what could happen potentially in the other. Whenever all these things happen, just smile. It's an opportunity for you to practice sadachara. And this is the 4th limb. Now what is the 5th one? Seva, Swadhyay, Sankirtan, Sadachara. And Shravanam. Yeah, 5th one is Shravanam. 5th one is Shravanam. So you will get plenty of opportunity of doing all these 5 S's. Please remember, one of these 5 S's is happening all day long in your life. Right? And these 6 days are powerful opportunities for you to practice these 5 S's. And I am going to be there all through the yatra. Anytime any of you want to come and talk to me, feel free. I'm just going to be around. And you can just walk up to me and talk to me anytime. Don't feel, don't think so much about where should I talk to them. Just come and talk, no problem. I know almost all of you all personally. Somewhere or other I've met most of you all. 90% of you at least I know personally. Some of you are relatives of those whom I know already, so there is a connection. So please feel free to connect. And anything you need, all of you all, anything you need, please feel free to approach us and tell us. We have some very, very wonderful devotees here with us. We have Irrigation here. Irrigation, we call him as our rock star. He has capacity to sing 24/7. If he starts, he is like a machine, the Kirtan machine. Switch him on, mind, that's all. He can go on and on and on all day. You can learn from him about the taste for holy name. Seriously, the amount of taste that he has for the holy name is just unbelievable. So he's going to be singing all day through the yatra, through the kirtan, through the streets. Please stick on to him. If anybody wants to participate in kirtan and really observe at kirtan, he is the man. Stick to him like a glue, and you cannot not sing. Basically, you will be singing. So there are times when I remember once we went from Dwarka to Somnath, like a 6-7 hour journey, something like that. And the entire journey, everybody in the bus was sleeping. He was singing all through. All 7 hours, non-stop, not a single moment. And that day he was fasting full. Without eating anything, without drinking anything, singing all day. Imagine the capacity. So we have with us Shyam Singh Prabhu. He is translating at the back for all those who are listening to the lecture in Hindi. So Shyam Singh Prabhu has been one of the key organizers of this yatra and is a wonderful, wonderful devotee. So anything you all need in terms of arrangement, stay, etc., you can contact him. We have Achit Gopal Prabhu. He's going to be a Dham Darshak. So all the holy places that you are visiting, Achit Gopal Prabhu will give you all a brief about each of the places and share with you all insights about each of the places. He is a very, very senior and wonderful Vaishnava. You can please associate with him. Arjun Priya Prabhu, who is also one of the main organizers here, he is a cow, literally, literally like a cow. So humble, so genuine, so amazing. Never ever says no to the service, down to earth. So these are all very, very wonderful devotees who are here with us. We have Vinay Prabhu, who has been the main organizer for this yatra. Most of you are already in touch with him, all of you have his numbers also. So anytime you need anything, anytime, all through the day and all through the night, you can reach out to him. Of course, not in the night, but if there's an emergency, we are always available. There are many, many doctors here in this yatra. Anyone needs any kind of medical attention, immediately contact us. You can almost be rest assured there's a doctor next to you. We have at least 15-20 doctors in this group itself. And you have all types of doctors. Ranging from homeopathy to Ayurveda, allopathy to all kinds of specializations from all over the world. So you can be completely rest assured. Yes? Okay, the doctors, just put up your hands, please. And there are some doctors who are humble, so they will not put up their hands also. Thank you. So, all of you can just feel free to reach out. Okay? So, also, for all the senior Vaishnavas, all the senior devotees, those who are older and need any kind of assistance, we have allotted one person to assist you all through the whole journey. So that devotee who has been allotted to you all to assist will come up to you all and meet you all. Okay? And if anybody does not have an assistance and needs an assistance, please let us know, and we'll put someone to take care of you all. Okay? All the older devotees can be rest assured that through the whole journey you will be taken care. And if any time at any point in time you feel that there is any need, please let us know. Okay? So there will be some walking that will happen. It has to happen because we are in such a place that buses and autos don't go everywhere. So there will be a certain amount of walking. For those who are not ready for a certain amount of walking, so you can stay back in your rooms, also experience Ayodhya from your rooms also. And we will announce. So there are certain times we might tell you that this is going to be a long walk, So you can even reconsider going, if some of you all are having health issues, etc. Okay. Anything else? We are always here. So again, we would like to welcome all of you to the first day of the yatra. I'm hoping and praying that this yatra becomes a very spiritually surcharging and a very inspiring yatra for all of you all. And I'm hoping and praying at the end of this yatra, all of you develop a little bit more love for Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, a little bit more faith in your spiritual practices. And for all those of you who are very new to the path of Krishna consciousness, hope this yatra solidifies your faith in the process. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.